Serious climbing is about to start. 52 seconds is the only gap now for those in the break. 14 riders still up there. Philip Dijkman has had a problem and a puncture. He's back safely there. There's Nicholas Roach at the end. It's very much an Irish bro. Are there hopes for the Irish riders today, Sean, as Badabine is dropped?
Yes, well, with two riders up there, you know, and we can see the riders going to drop off very quickly. I think Nicholas Roach and Philip Dijkman, this sort of finish is one that will suit him very well. If it was a Pan Planet finish, well then, you know, there'd be more riders capable of doing something here. So they're in with a good chance. Although the advantage, 42 seconds, as we can see, BMC, you know, controlling the front of the bunch. The pace has been very fast in main peloton. We see shots just as we went to the breakaway there, riders peeling off the rear and looking to form the bus, the gruppetto, as they say. And I think it will grow to be a very big one here with the pace of main peloton. 41 seconds. It's going to be interesting if this one continues on. If BMC continues making this pace, well then it's going to be very, very tight for the breakaway.
Yes, it was a case of tickets please, wasn't it, for Bernie Eisel going back to form the bus. He's the man in charge of it generally these days. Yuyika Arashiro dropping off the back as well, and 57 there is Manuel Quinziato, another conductor stroke inspector on the auto bus coming in towards the end. 33 seconds now, and you just saw the upping of pace. The good news for BMC is that Steve Morabito looked very, very good, fit well, doing his bit on the climb, but we're down to the bare bones, one or two riders for each team member. 33 seconds is all that's left.
And we can see Trek Factory Racing was the team setting the pace there, and of course Arredondo already taking points for the mountain classification. And the surprising one was that Daniel Hunter was setting the pace there on the front of the bunch. So he's you know, doing really well to be up there at this time, because they have been climbing, you know, 2-3%, but the rate they have been going, we have seen people paying the price, and for him to be there, you know, setting the pace for a moment, a good performance for him.
Second oldest man in the race by just one single day, the 40-year-old Danilo Hondo. Looking lean, looking mean, and look very, very fit in this race so far. Remember, as a former sprinter, it is a very good job to still be up there setting that pace there. 35 kilometres. 13 men now in the break after Badabine has been dropped. And here at the back we have Eduard Vorganov. Man in front of him in the luminous yellow, rider from Neri Sotoli, Jonathan Monsalve. Three riders, remember, from Europcar, and here we go. Time to attack from Francesco Bongiorno. He was involved last year in the Giro d'Italia, playing out for stage wins towards the end of the race. Francesco Manuel Bongiorno going off to the left, attacking one of the steeper parts. And there are some steep parts this climb, 13% coming up. And look at that, the Italian fans already enjoying themselves. So Bongiorno is off, counter-attacks coming. Sean, is this where you expect the group to really split up now? Nicholas Roach has gone out on the attack as well. Danny Moreno is in pursuit, and we're going to see the men separated from the boys now.
Yes, I think we will see the men, the strong men, the men of the energy left here, and they have to start very early, because we can see 18 seconds at the moment back to Cadel Evans and the group of big favourites, as we see Nicholas Roach really pushing on here. And there's still a long ways to go to the top of this climb. You know, we still have a number of kilometres, but the breakaway totally blown apart.
Well, this is the scene on the left-hand side up at Naso di Gatto, where the climb is. Long, long way to go to the top. It's 8 kilometres in total. We go at an average of around 8%. The biggest gradient up at 13%. On the right-hand side, the man who's leading the race, it's Ireland's Nicholas Roach. He came here to ride for GC. He came here to win the Giro d'Italia. It didn't go right for him, caught up in that big crash earlier on last week to Monte Cassino. Here he is, ahead of Georg Preidler, Danny Moreno, and the man who started the move right at the back in the green, Francesco Manuel Bongiorno. At the minute, no signs that Philip Dijkman can follow.
No, and we can see they have quite an advantage here, our four riders up front. But we can see that just coming in, it looks like Turo from Europcar starting to try and chase back on here. Still a long way, 6 kilometres, as we can see here. You know, the action in the front of the bunch. Our man we were expecting to go on the attack, Arredondo, he's going to push on because he wants to get this points available for the mountain classification, the jersey which he's carrying at the moment.
Well, there's a counter-attack from one of the Team Colombia riders. It could be an all-Colombian fight for the blue jersey at the end. I think you can see how close the Peloton are to the break. Moreno Moseo right at the front there, his chances of winning today disappearing. Might be everybody's chances of winning disappearing, because this is a very, very fast pace in the Peloton. A fast pace that has been broken though by Julian Arredondo. Colombian rider again, came here to race for the overall, lost so much time in that crash, 18 minutes in fact in Monte Cassino, but he took the blue jersey, if not the victory of the stage at the weekend on Saturday. He's riding here, riding strong, one of the top climbers in the Peloton, and if he can get another second category climb today, where he gets the final victory and not 2 lots of maximum points, exactly what he came looking for, Sean.
Yes, well, I think anytime there's an opportunity, the sight of an opportunity to take the points for the mountain classification, you have to go for it, and that's the case at the moment. You know, he can see that the group is just hanging out there. He's gone through the part of the breakaway that has got dropped, and he can see the other ones up the road, and this is going to be difficult back in the Peloton. There's surely other riders, some of the Colombians, I think they will be saying as well, we have to try and get up here. This is an opportunity for us, and get across to Arredondo and try and, you know, get a bit of distance on the Peloton, because they'll not be liking the descent here. It'll be very, very fast, and we can see, I don't think the breakaway, with the distance we have to the top of this one, they're not going to survive.
Toral and Sicard left behind. Romain Sicard, the French Basque man, taken on by the Colombian climber. He has the lead of the race ahead of him. It's Dani Moreno, the Spaniard, who is setting the pace at the minute in the red and white of Katusha. But Julian Arredondo pedalling at a furiously fast pace up this final climb of the day. The man who came in pursuit of him in the Team Colombia colours was their leader, Fabio Duarte. Duarte having lost quite a lot of time though. 10 minutes and 6 behind. Peloton not going to be worried about him. Going to have to start thinking about who's in this group as well behind, are the big favourites who might want to go out there for the stage win at the end of the descent. Is Diego Lisi still in there? We know that Diego Lisi has already been down on the ground. He's fallen today, he's had an injury.
And we've just seen Arredondo there, still on the big ring, and we're in the part of the climb where, you know, the earlier part it was, you know, 7-8%, then it eased off to 6%, 6.6, 7%, 8%. So we're in that area, and you know, he's climbing on the big ring. It's amazing, and you know, he's going at such a fast rate here, because the guys out front, the ones of the original breakaway, they're really pushing on here, but he's closing down very quickly on them, and that gives you an indication how fast he's going up here.
Austrian champion Ricardo Zeudel is a very decent climber, but he's out the back at the minute, struggling to hang on. There is Diego Lisi, confirmation that he's hit the ground and not looking too good. Just hanging on for the minute though. If he can hang on all the way to the finish, then do not count against him. Not looking too comfortable at the moment though. This is what's happening up the front. Dani Moreno right at the front on the right hand side in the red and white, the Spaniard. On the left, we have the Irishman, Nicolas Roche, in the yellow and blue. Behind Moreno in the green there is Buongiorno. Arredondo makes the junction. He's with this group now. It's a very strong group, and they're gaining time on the pink jersey group. 34 seconds. Georg Preidler, the man, the Austrian, who is still there now in white and black.
And we could see Preidler really suffering there, taking big deep breaths, and Arredondo just floats up beside him there and looking so casual. We can see the difference of the size of the guys as well, the weight that the giant Shimano rider is carrying compared to Arredondo, you know, just a tiny lightweight climber.
He is a giant compared to Arredondo. Arredondo behind him with those small piston-like legs. You can see the Maglia Rosa group, the pink jersey group, the Peloton, let's call them, the main group coming up behind, half a minute down the road. Fabio Duarte, by the way, is now with the 2 Europe car riders. Talked about that counter-attack. And just expect this gap to oscillate slightly as they come up this climb. Onto the harder sections. Arredondo, well, it looks as though he's attacked. He wants those points, no doubt about it. He's stronger than everybody else, and he just floated past Nicolas Roche there. Still in the big ring as well. It makes it look so easy. Nicolas Roche, though, is counter-attacking. Man in the yellow out onto the pedals, looking to try and get on the coattails of Arredondo. Well, perhaps they can do each other a favour at the top here.
Well, I think the only favour that Nicolas Roche can do is on the descent, because it's going to be difficult for him to you know, start setting the pace here with Arredondo. If he can make it and cling onto the wheel, we're still, you know, 32 kilometres to go, and 28 is tops out, 28.2. So you know, quite a bit to go to get to the top of this one. But Roach, we can see digging in and just clawing his way back onto the wheel of Arredondo.
This is good from Nicholas Roach. An awful start to the Giro from him as we look back into the group of main contenders. Ivan Basso, always picked out by our Italian cameraman as a two-time winner of the Giro d'Italia. On his wheel, Fabio Aru, and this is Samuel Sanchez, the 2008 Olympic champion, at the front with those yellow bands on his sleeves to denote the fact that he's been a Spanish national champion. Svitov, Belarusian rider, he's there for Team Sky. Bjorn Turau going back towards the peloton. We're being told that Nicholas Roach and Julian Arredondo already have 11 seconds over those chasing. In the meantime, Duarte is starting to struggle.
And I think the important one is 43 seconds back to the pink jersey of Cat 11s. That's I think where the danger is going to come from, because the riders between who have been out the breakaway, I think you know, they have spent a lot of energy today. Will we see an attack? But BMC continuing to set pace on front of peloton.
Bjorn Turau is cooked. Samuel Sanchez continues to plod on. Steve Morabito on his wheel. Cadel Evans safely a few riders back in the pink. This is Arredondo. Wow. Georg Preidler. We told him the giant. It is a giant performance from him as well.
Well, he's not going to let the little man ride away. He probably said, well, a little small guy like that, he cannot ride away from me on a bicycle. And he's putting in a big battle here, and it looked like he was the one who was struggling majorly. Nicholas Roach made the effort there and maybe just went a little bit too fast to get into the wheel of Arredondo and started to pay the price. But again, you know, when you hit a steep section, that's where you can really pay. But he hopefully will recover maybe and claw his way back again to our two leaders.
Arredondo at the front with the blue. Mounted jersey on his back, he wants to keep that. Diego Lisi being chaperoned up the climb by Jan Polans. Fabio Duarte now up here at the back. Sanchez looking behind, looking for his leader. That's Leo Duque. And this is Nicholas Roach. Tries to plod on. 47th overall. Oh dear, Chris Anker Sorensen has some real road rash today. But it doesn't matter. He's still out there. He's still having a go to try and get back. Real courage from him, and counter-attacks continue. Edoardo Zardini out there for Bardiani. One attack goes for them, and another is ready to pounce off the front. Always ready to light up the race. Bardiani bouncing from the bunch. 30 seconds to bridge. It's a hard assault.
Yes, it is a hard one, but we can see that back in the peloton, BMC are just controlling. We see Sammy Sanchez just setting a pace there. They are not concerned with our man out front, our leader on the road, Arredondo, because he, in general classification, he's 48 minutes down. So the riders realise that, and anybody's thinking about you know, trying to do something here, it is the moment to try and, you know, get out of the peloton, because it is a little bit of a slow down, but a big ask to make it across to our leader on the road, Arredondo.
Edoardo Zardini, one of the young riders there for Bardiani. Fabio Aru. Yes, of course, pardon me, I said that Samuel Sanchez had the gold on his sleeve. Obviously denotes the fact that he was Olympic champion. Kieselowski behind. Quintana's still there. Rigoberto Urán, a lot of people asking where he is. He's right towards the base of your shot. Number 141. Nicholas Roach on the top right. front of the race is on your top left. Julian Arredondo again riding away from Preidler. What sort of feeling is that when you've worked so hard to get on the wheel and the little man just rides away from you again?
Well, it is difficult, and you know, if he just ups it a bit, maybe Arredondo just, you know, on a steeper section, you only need 30, 40 metres, 50 metres. Arredondo, the small lightweight, he can, you know, put you in difficulty on the steeper section, and it eases off by 1 or 2%. We could see the giant Shimano rider Preidler just clawing his way back again, and he's working quite well, as we can see. You know, he's not totally blown, so if he can keep on working and keep him inside there 20, 30, 40 metres, and of course the descent, if he can get to that, he can make up a lot of ground, because we did see Arredondo on the day of the big breakaway. He doesn't go down that well. I think Preidler would be the one who could descend much faster.
Georg Preidler behind then for Austria. 176 riding for Giant Shimano, the Dutch team. Zardini's attack has made Nicholas Roach, and Nicholas Roach is looking like he's absolutely spent now on the climb.
Yes, we can see he has the look under the left arm there to see where everybody else is, and you see Zardini coming by, and Nicholas is having difficulty here. He's running out of energy. I think he's lost his power.
So Gianni Savio back in the bunch. Where Androni? All that work. Might be about time. Is this Pelizzotti? We'd like to get a good look. We'd expect it to be him to attack.
Has to be.
We saw Emanuele Sella doing a lot of work behind. It's not going to be Sella fresh enough to have an attack. Surely is Pelizzotti with the latest attack.
And if they don't make an attack, I think Savio, there'll be no tea tonight.
You ride on the front and you'll starve. That'll teach you. In the meantime, Julian Arredondo playing with Georg Preidler behind him. As soon as he reaches the wheel, there's just another acceleration. Again, he looks behind. Arredondo toying with him. This is a great move, though, from Zardini. All the encouragement you like on the side of the road as well. Edoardo Zardini riding for Bardiani and looking to prove that their invitation, as always, was justified. He took a win in Trentino, remember, at San Giacomo di Brentonico, and here we go. Counter-attacks coming, and Samuel Sanchez really putting the pace on.
Yes, he is keeping control here. Some of the riders starting to appear, but Sanchez, experience coming in here. He has been on the front for quite a while, and as I mentioned, you know, just setting a pace that not too many riders going to go on the attack. And the moment riders start to appear, he ups it a little bit just to stop other riders, other teams from attacking.
Well, Zardini, who's so good in the Giro del Trentino, remember, took that win at San Giacomo. Mentioned him earlier on in the week when he was having the break once so far in this Giro d'Italia. 30 kilometres to go for him. Pelizzotti on the wheels, not looking like he's put too much pace in those behind. And now there's also a counter-attack from Europcar. Pierre Rolland, perhaps. Kiselowski second wheel here, jersey unzipped behind Samuel Sanchez. Morabito behind him, and there is Cadel Evans as well. Alberto Losada. Attempt to try and get out. 26 seconds to get to bridge. Doesn't top out for another kilometre yet. And Alberto Losada has managed to make it, albeit on a different bike. He's another one involved in a crash early today. What a performance in the meantime from Georg Preidler. He's climbed well throughout this Giro, relatively well for a big guy anyway. 11 minutes 43 down. And he's trying to mix it with Julian Arredondo right to the top. This is a wonderful little battle. You still just get the feeling, Sean, that Arredondo could just toy with him at any given moment.
Well, it's surprising because I think Arredondo is pushing on to pretty much to giving his best here, because he's been made aware of what's happening, and the advantage he knows is about 20 seconds, 30 seconds from the main group. And if he can put, you know, a sufficient gap into the riders that were out in the breakaway, he could hold on the descent, because the final, what, 28 kilometres, a lot of it downhill, but it also kicks up on a number of times, and that would suit Arredondo. And with Preidler there in his slipstream almost, he's what, 3-4 bike lengths behind. You know, he doesn't want that, and I don't think he's playing about here, because the faster he can get up, he's going to take, first of all, the main objective, GPM points maximum, and then go on and try and maybe hold on for a stage victory. But we can see here there's movement, and other riders starting to come across. Roland, of course, the danger one. That's the reason we see BMC starting to push up the pace a little bit more.
Pierre Roland, 2 minutes and 56 seconds. He's with Franco Pelizzotti and Alberto Losada. Losada not a danger at 38 minutes. Pelizzotti, as we said, at 5 minutes and 46. This is the front of the race. Another little dig out onto the pedals from the pint-sized Colombian climber Arredondo. Behind him, grinding away at the gears, is Georg Preidler. 1 kilometre to the summit. A real old fight. And Preidler looks down at his stem, looks down at the notes. He knows every little bit of this climb. Behind them, Zardini, third place on the road for Bardiani. Winner of the stage just before this Giro d'Italia in the race that Cadel Evans won, the Giro del Trentino. Former Olympic champion Samuel Sanchez, the Spaniard. Steve Morabito in second place for BMC, the Swiss-American team of the team race team leader. That is Cadel Evans. 25 seconds, somewhere in the middle. We have Pelizzotti, Losada and Roland. It is all happening today. And if the Peloton thought they're in for a quiet day, Sean, well, they had something else coming.
Yes, it hasn't been, I think, as riders, general classification men would have been expecting a relatively easy day, a breakaway, because when you look at the route manual, it looks, you know, perfect for a breakaway. Guys who are long ways down the general classification, and a great possibility of going on to contest for the stage victory. And it looked like this breakaway, big breakaway, was going to, you know, survive. But again, we did see teams not happy, and they're only doing the bulk of the chasing. And now we have a battle on our hands here, and we can see, you know, there's riders scattered everywhere on this climb. Ones who have been in the breakaway, most of them back in the peloton, but riders trying to come across. And in the main peloton, there's surely somebody will try something as we get closer to the summit and on the descent, because 28 kilometres, I think they have to be riders back in peloton who still feel that this stage victory, they have a chance of going for a shout for it.
Up to the cat's nose we pedal. A little push for Julian Arredondo. Supporter better be careful, doesn't want to get himself in trouble. 500 metres to go. Look at that encouragement. Arredondo on the pedals, not even interested in the idiots running alongside him. 32 seconds. He wants to take the maximum points here. Interesting to see how these guys push on for the victory if they can. Sampdoria flags down there, the famous football team coming from Genoa. Supporters all along the side of the road for the Giro d'Italia. And it's that colour blue that Julian Arredondo wants to hang on for. He seems to have the beating on this final little summit here of Georg Preidler, who is being caught by Zardini all the time. Arredondo with just a couple of 100 metres to secure yet more maximum points on another King of the Mountains climb. Last one of the day, this. Pierre Roland in the green, chasing on the Frenchman. This is the light green, the lime green and white of the all-Italian team Bardiani Valvole. Bruno Verberi will be a very happy man. Team manager who will have sent those several attackers we've seen out. Bongiorno went first, then it was Barbin, now it is Zardini. And Zardini's doing a great job, all on his own, trying to close the gap. 100 metres to the summit for Julian Arredondo. Seems as though the points are his. Off onto the pedals he goes again. One final little dart into the last 50 metres. And Julian David Arredondo Moreno, leader of the race on the day, is the leader of the Mountains classification. Predictable ride from him, a good ride. Also, huge kudos to Georg Preidler for sticking with him up that climb.
Yes, we can see he's been really on the limit for a number of kilometres, and you know, we see that suffering on his face, but he's just looking down at his front wheel and just giving it 100%, and he has to give it 100%. You know, the big heavyweight rider trying to hold on here, and he's done a magnificent job, because we can see he joins Arredondo immediately on the descent. And now the question is, you know, we can see the others also coming across here, so there's going to be a 5-6 man group very quickly here. Back to the peloton, we see over the 30 seconds, and that's going to be an interesting one as well, because 30 seconds with you know, 27.7 kilometres to go, it is possible for some riders to close down a lot of that time on the descent alone.
Well, only one day on the Giro d'Italia so far as the morning breakaway gone and won a stage. Everybody from the break swallowed up here, but it's the counter-attacks who have taken the summit. Peloton coming across at 29 seconds. And there's a group already developing here. Alberto Losada really needs some good news for Katusha. It's been an awful Giro d'Italia for them. Rodriguez, Caruso, Vicioso, all out. Pierre Alain is there. And with Pierre Alain in this group, Sean, does that mean that BMC are really going to try and chase this on the descent, or will they be happy with 20-odd seconds?
Well, I think they will be a little bit concerned about this one because Pierre Alain, we know his qualities, and he seemed to be in real good shape because he's been very aggressive in the stages previous, and it's early days, so when you see a rider doing that, and he can do the big climbs as well, so I'd not be surprised if BMC really push on here. We can see Omega Pharma Quickstep are the ones who are continuing on here at the front, and it's going to be a difficult one with a man like that for general classification up here with our 6 leaders.
25 seconds. Lots of teams interested in closing this gap down. And the bonus seconds on the line, something that Cadel Evans didn't count with thinking about today. Quick break for us. Stage 11 is a fast and furious stage on the Giro d'Italia, and it's not going to get any slower on the way in. It is descent practically all the way. We have a small gap of around 14 seconds for 6 riders out in front. Julian Arredondo took the second category final climb of the day, and these are our 6 riders. Pierre Alain on the left in the dark green. Just behind him, Zardini of Bardiani in the lime green. Pelizzotti is there as well, former Italian champion in the white. Georg Preidler in black and white as well. And alongside them, Julian Arredondo, who is in the blue. Alberto Losada is the rider in the red and white, but they're going to be absorbed. They're even waiting for those behind now. Just plodding on, Preidler doing his best to grind away, but they know they're caught. It's a descent, Sean, but there's a couple of little false flats on the way down as well.
Yes, a couple, or more than a couple. There's many leg breakers on the way down because we can see there that this climb was a difficult one. Percentage, you know, it kicked up to over 9% at times, and we could see the way the breakaway were really in difficulty, and we can see that some of the riders here on the tail end of the peloton, Zeidel really suffered to hang in here. And there's a lot of little small kick-ups where it goes up maybe for a couple of 100 metres, and coming back together, there are going to be more attacks, and that's where it's going to, you know, really hurt here, and still with 24.5 kilometres to go.
Losada, here goes Pierre Alain again. Arredondo will follow him. Pelizzotti in 3rd place as well. Okay, we were taking the mickey out of Gianni Savio earlier on. He's now got a guy in the mix for the win.
Well, he had a guy in the mix of the win, let's say, with the 6 leaders out front. I think if it had, you know, pulled enough an advantage from the breakaway, but we can see here, you know, it's going to be closed down by the peloton of favourites, what's left for the peloton, and it is a big group here. There's, you know, 40 riders, I think, in that group, and there's surely somebody, you know, who has a bit of a sprint on them. Ulisi, we did see hanging on the rear there, really suffering as he made it, but there's, you know, definitely some riders who can sprint quite well, made it in this group of favourites, and Pelizzotti, as we know, well, I think my postman would sprint better.
I won't correct you on that because it is a perfectly well-weighted statement. The tactics seem to work, though. They certainly did animate the race, as they suggested. Now, Omega Pharma Quickstep. But Pauls is quick enough. The man doing the work here is Gianluca Brambilla, ahead of Rigoberto Urán. 126 is Jose Herrada for Movistar. He's the man in charge of escorting Nairo Quintana to the finish. A couple of riders there for Astana, one of which is their leader, Fabio Aru. No Michele Scarponi in this group. Trying to look at who is there. Ricardo Zeidel hanging on towards the back. Austrian champion. And again, beautiful scenery as we head down through the Ligurian hills into the finish at Savona. Right on the seaside today. Over the top of the Naso di Gatto. And this is where the descent proper starts, after that second little heading up. So Brambilla, the man who attacked very early on in the week, as soon as we got back to Italy. No luck on that day, but he's doing his best for Rigoberto Urán, and this means that BMC and Movistar must follow. If it comes down to this big group, Sean, it's put an element of nervousness that wasn't supposed to be there for Cadel Evans today, because there's time bonuses up for grabs on the line.
Yes, there is, and that's going to be an important one. And you know, we can see there that Omega Pharma Quickstep are pushing on big time with Brambilla. Uran in the sprint, you know, normally he's okay, but there's too many riders here, and I think there's too many faster men in this group. But Cadel Evans also, he can put up, of the big favourites, he can put up a better sprint, I think, than the most of the men on the top of the general classification. Micah also, you know, a strong rider, but like when you go down to Pozzo Vivo, Quintana, of course, none of those guys can really do anything in the sprint. But there's a lot of riders in here, and if we can get a rear view of the peloton here, there has to be some of the riders that's made it over the top of this climb by a cat's nose.
And it was the cat's nose who went over. Nicely worded. Moreno Mosera right at the back here as Zoidl comes ahead of him. 22.1 kilometres to go. Is your postman watching, Sean?
No, he's still working.
Either that or watching the RAS. Remember, the on-post RAS is happening over in Ireland at the minute as well. That's on that. The team's going well, isn't it?
Yes, well, they had a good start, you know, winning a stage, first and second on the Sunday stage on the opening, and being in the action. The race is going well, still in there, you know, with a number of days to go. So unfortunately the weather hasn't been kind back for them there. They've been getting a lot of rain in the early part, showers, but hoping to improve.
Now then, big attacks. Trying to attack on the descent, trying to push this on. Tinkoff Saxo have had Nicholas Roach really going at it all day. Comes off to the side, peels off, really tries to give everything. And Mick Rogers, the man who survived, is the latest to have a go. So Roach and Rovney out there in the break. Mick Rogers back to biking after his enforced period away from the bike. Back straight away, thrown into the Giro d'Italia. The rhythm of the racing hasn't been lost on him. He said he did a lot of training whilst away. Now then, a Omega Pharma Quickstep take up the front. Each and every little move from a Omega Pharma Quickstep is going to have to be watched and monitored.
You see Quintana also there, moving up just on the inside, and getting a little bit tight on the left-hand side, but he is staying very much to the fore here. He's just been in that good position and to watch the other favourites, because we can see Uran very much up there, Cadel Evans also, and Quintana not allowing too many riders to come by him on this part of the descent.
Ivan Basso to the front as well for Cannondale. Roland still up there as well, the Europe car man. It's a fast descent, this. Not as technical as some of the descents we have elsewhere in the Giro. "20 kilometres remaining. Giro d'Italia stage 11 has been very exciting. It's been fast, it's been furious, and we have the main favourites in the group going for the stage win. Didn't expect it to happen today. GC men all thought that the breakaway would stick. Breakaway didn't, in fact, stick. 14 men chased down by Androni Giocattoli, the team that had missed out. Interesting thinking back. Do you think if Androni hadn't missed the break, we'd have this situation?
No, I think we would have a breakaway that would have had much bigger advantage going on to this final climb of the day. Certainly a sufficient advantage that they would be able to get over the climb and go on to contest for the stage victory. And unfortunately, yes, for the guys in the breakaway, they'll be saying, well, if, you know, Androni had a man up there, well, we would have, you know, survived today, and the stronger ones that we see in the climb would have, you know, had a chance to have a go for stage victory. 15
seconds here for Mick Rogers. Well, this would be a wonderful day for him. Long way to hold out, though, still. But the good news is there isn't too much flat to contend with. Most of what remains of this stage is descent. This is where Mick Rogers came past. Quick look, you might miss him. He is bombing it down there. Stretched out all the time. BMC take over. Slight sections of road where you quickly have to get out on the pedals and pump yourself uphill. Rafał Majka's there for Tinkoff Saxo. He, of course, is not going to put any pace on, given the fact that his mate's 23 seconds up the road. This is a very good ride from Mick Rogers. Maglia Rosa group here. Pink jersey of Cadel Evans. Tomorrow it's all about the time trial. Big day in the Giro d'Italia. Everybody hoping for a calm day today, but there are bonus seconds available on the line here. Mick Rogers isn't going to pose a big threat to BMC, either to Movistar or Omega Pharma Quick-Step. He is 13 minutes and 5 down. They're not going to worry too much about him at all. I think they'll be happy to have somebody like that take the major bonus seconds out the way, won't they?
Well, that is the question. BMC, Cadel Evans, as we know, he can sprint quite well to a small group, but I think this one was just making about 25 riders, maybe a little bit more. They're the ones who are really pushing on here, but you have to keep on setting a strong pace, otherwise there will be other riders who go on the attack if you slow it down too much. So that is probably the tactic, and not sure if Evans, we've seen him in the past, it seems like that they have pushed on at times, indicating to me that they wanted to have a go for the sprint and try and take any bonification points were at all possible to take.
Well, I think Enrico Bartaglin might still have been in there. He'd be an interesting name in the sprint for Bardiani. 1, 2, 3 there for Movistar is Igor Anton. Big domestique coming up for the mountains for Nairo Quintana. Tight corner taken by Mick Rogers. Road surface a little dodgy, but he's taking all the right risks. Had an absolute nightmare winter. Had that positive test, of course, for clenbuterol when racing in the Far East last year. With all the problems given the distribution of clenbuterol, certainly in China, in the Tour of Beijing. Well, Mick Rogers was let off by the UCI, not punished, and allowed to return to racing. Clenbuterol distribution, a real problem over in China, of course, where they've been racing. But he's back on the bike now. He's riding really, really hard here, the Aussie. And he's looking good. 38 seconds now. Average race speed so far, given the fact we've had 2 big, long climbs today, well over 42 kilometres per hour. It's been that sort of day, hasn't it? Really, really quick from the off. Took the break a long time to go too, remember?
Yes, and then when the break was away, there was a time when there was a bit of downtime, but it was taken up again by, Androni. So it's been a fast day. 42, I think they would be expecting a much more casual day and a slower average. But consequences and tactics of teams, it's been a very energy-sapping day for all.
Interesting to see the effect that it will have tomorrow on the time trial. Edoardo Zardini at the front now, pedalling on for Bardiani. Looks behind. Sky Rider still in there as Fitzov. The man in the pink, of course, is the race leader, Cadel Evans. 58 in front of him is Samuel Sanchez. Some are suggesting, watching down under in Australia, this is the Giro d'Ossi. Mick Rogers, another Australian, hoping to put some pressure on. Lucien Orica Green Edge holding on to the pink jersey until it went to Cadel Evans. We know pink jersey involved here, but there would certainly be a prestigious stage win for Mick Rogers. 36 seconds, just over 15 kilometres to go. Camera motorbike is waved along. It's just one of those small little false flats, almost minute climbs that has to be taken over as we go through Altare. As you can see, best known for its glass-making tradition. If you want to find out more, there's a museum that tells you all about it. Beautiful little square down there as well. Inside 15Ks to go now. But Hejda still in there, Andre Cardozo hanging on at the back, as is Alexandre Genier. 15 kilometres to go, Mick Rogers out in front, and it's all come down to the GC boys today. This was supposed to be a breakaway day, supposed to be a calm day for just about everybody else behind. Cadel Evans and the rest of the main contenders finding themselves having to watch out who gets these bonus seconds. Now 2 Sky Riders in there, right at the back here. Sitsov is one of them. Nairo Quintana. And there's Cadel Evans. 44 seconds now. Zardini is the man in the lime green doing the work on the front. Real man interested in pulling this back. Zardini knows that he has young Enrico Battaglin still in that peloton. A lot of people down in Australia will be cheering on this man. Veteran Australian cyclist Mick Rogers. Zardini takes it up again. Seen a couple of Lampre jerseys in there. Not quite sure whether Cunego or Ulisi are in there. You'd expect Cunego to be in there. Ulisi's the big one we're wondering about. If, of course, Mick Rogers is eventually caught. 33 seconds now, the gap is coming down. Good work this from Zardini. Looks behind, he wanted some help there from Samuel Sanchez. Sean, if you're the big players' teams, how do you play this? If you're Uran, Evans, Quintana, what do you tell your teams to do? Just stay safe and let whatever happens happen out the front?
Yes, I think just stay safe, stay on the front here of the group, and get to the final and then see what the position is. At the moment we can see is the big teams are just following, and it's Bardiani who was taking up the chase, and Zardini, yes, Bardiani taking up the chase, and we can see why, because they have got the better sprinter in here, and they're going to follow and just leave them, you know, do the work here and see what happens in the end. But the problem is, for some of the general classification men, they're not going to have any chance in the sprint. And if you look at the, Cadel Evans, Uran, Pozzovivo, Aru, any of those guys, Kelderman, I think he might be one of the better ones in the sprint. But again, to get into the places where there's the bonifications, the top three, there's a lot of riders here, I think, with a much better sprint. So it's just about, staying safe, not losing any time. And I think the bonifications are going to be very, very difficult for any of the general men to pull off today.
Mick Rogers, 36 seconds ahead, takes on a quick energy gel. Less than 12 k's to go as Ricardo Zoidl comes to the front. Austrian champion. Zardini tries to get a chase organised. Ushers Steve Morabito ahead. Well, the other Sky rider we saw was just wondering if Ben Swift had managed to get over, for obvious reasons, because he would be by far and away the quickest in the pack, but it's not Ben Swift, it is Sebastian Henao, the other Sky rider alongside Konstantin Svitsov. Here we go. Are they going to be interested? Not too sure. Zoidl looks behind. This is Genius at the back. Just in front of him, Fabio Duarte of Team Columbia. And Ryder Hagedal as well. .38 seconds. Looking good for Rogers. Tries to eke out every little bit of that advantage. Of course, Sean, for Mick Rogers, we've always gone through over the last 6 months the worries about what might happen with that positive test for clenbuterol, and of course the dodgy meat ingested over in China, given as the official explanation. Today would be a huge breakthrough day again for him on the second part of his career, let's say. Yes, well, he's been riding fabulously in this race, considering he's just coming back into racing, and in the reports he has trained very hard, and I think we're seeing the evidence of that, because unless you really train very, very aggressively, do blocks of long distance, but also to do the intensity, you have to do that for racing. And the way he's been riding, it's amazing he can do that. And at the moment he made the calculation well. He could see that the big teams, the general classification men, there was a little bit of tactic being played, went in the attack at a good time, and that's the experience to know at the right time to have a go. And we can see 37 seconds, the advantage looking good at the moment, because on the front of the bunch the big teams are not really taking it up at the moment. It's the ones who have a sprinter in here. We did see Bardiani who wanted to pull on there with Trek Factory Racing, but other than that, the general classification men are not committing their team at all for the moment. They're just controlling things, playing safe on the descent. Mick Rogers hasn't won for 2 years. 27th of May 2012 when he won the overall in the Bayern Rundfahrt. So we're banging on almost exactly 2 years to the day. He likes May though. May 4 years ago he was the overall winner of the Tour of California as well. Nine kilometres to go. Mick Rogers stays out there in front. 2 years since his last triumph in Germany at the Bayern-Rundfahrt. Also a winner of the Tour of California overall previously. He's won the Vuelta a Andalusia back in 2010 too. Former world champion in the individual time trial as well. Mick Rogers, a special rider, and if any rider was going to stay out there and do it from the bunch here, of course, given his time trial capabilities, it is a cliche to say time trying to the finish, but Mick Rogers is making a good fist of it at the minute.
Yes, he's doing a really good job, because we can see the peloton are, moving along at a good pace all the time. There's always somebody wanting to set the pace on the front, maybe not as fast as we would be expecting here. If there were a general classification man, a danger man out front, well, then we would see some of the other teams pushing on a bit faster. But Rogers is, putting in a real good effort here, looking very strong, and his time trialing quality is coming, coming to help him here. It's a big advantage. We can see the way he's down here, and just, that 53, 54, probably 12, 13 the gear. So he's going at what, 55 kilometers per hour on the flatter sections.
Just get the feeling, as we look at Savona on the left-hand side, as you're suggesting there, Sean, that a lot of people are quite happy with this situation at the minute. A lot of people are pretty happy, certainly as far as the race is concerned. So I know that Mick Rogers has his detractors out there who might not want a man from the past in cycling to go out there and win, but the race situation at the minute, with the teams involved, well, they will be pretty happy. Major bonus seconds taken out the equation. A man who's not dangerous to the overall, and it means that everybody can think about the time trial tomorrow. That is, unless somebody suddenly gets interested behind. Still 7 kilometres remain. Still going downhill in towards Savona here, and it is basically descending all the way into the final 2 kilometres or so. Ricardo Zoidl taking it up for Trek at the front. Remember, they've had a good day already. Julian Arredondo taking 2 lots of maximum points. Georg Preidler suddenly found some extra energy as well.
Yes, and surprising to see the Preidler riding. I thought he was the one that they were putting the man on the front for Zoidl, but they must have another man in here, because when he's committing and starting up the pace here, Kizolowski, of course, he's in here, but is he capable of doing something in the sprint? Is there, somebody else that's a little bit faster? And it's changing all the time here, the tactic. As we can see, coming down 36 seconds for Mick Rogers at the moment, with 6 kilometres to go. And the interesting one is the final number of kilometres do flatten out, and it's a pretty much, 4 kilometres maybe of a flat section in the end. So we should see him come to that now, and that's going to be the difficult one. If there's a sudden acceleration up front here, that advantage could come down quickly. It's not in the bag at all yet.
Sweat dripping down the face of Mick Rogers, the open-mouthed effort faces there. He wants this badly, and you can understand it. Sardini third wheel, Preidler in second wheel, Zoidl there. Looks as though there's a little 3-man group have just got organised to try and chase this down. Preidler comes through to do his turn. The question is who they're working for. Who are they working for? Does Kizolowski feel that he can do something in the final couple of 100 metres perhaps? Thinking back to the GC guys who are left, there's nobody else really left for Trek Factory Racing who we know about. Zoidl peels off though now, he's done his turn. It's Giant who take it up with Georg Preidler. 2 Austrians there, by the way, working together. Preidler, the Austrian climber who we saw, and of course Zoidl, the Austrian national champion. This is Fabio Duarte riding for Colombia at the back. He's on the wheel of former Giro winner Ryder Hagedal. 32 seconds, 4.4 kilometres to go. The gap is coming down ever so slightly. That's what happens when we get onto this slight flat section. Rogers takes a drink. Pedaling on for dear life. Advantage inside 30 seconds for the first time since he went, really. Sardini there in the bright green. It's Paidlado still taking it on from the front. Just behind Zardini you have Steve Morabito. Cadel Evans chaperone. There was a panic for him earlier today as he hit the ground. The leader of the race has 26 seconds now, Michael Rogers. Whatever happens, this will have been a wonderful attack. Lampre Jersey just waking his way up to the front. Which Lampre Jersey is it? There's a big feature, by the way, on Diego Lisi this morning in the national paper, saying that he devours big T-bone steaks. Wants to be a big, strong boy. And he's a crazy Juventus fan, apparently. They're used to winning, he's used to winning. Is he still here right now? 24 seconds for Mick Rogers, just over 3 kilometres to go on stage 11 of the Giro d'Italia. Sean Kelly, pressure on. Is he going to do it? It's
going to be a real tight one. I'm concerned that this final 3 kilometres is going to be difficult for Rogers, but again, you know, he is an excellent time trialist. The flat, he can really, you know, throw that big E, and he had been doing that for a long time. And we can see here, it's Giant Shimano who are taking it up, and another man comes to the front. Geschke is still in there, so they have to have, you know, some other rider as well, because they are riding here for quite a while, and we haven't seen the other rider from Giant, Ludvigsson. He's
Ludvigsson is the GC man, yeah.
So yes, it looks like that he could be there, but he hasn't shown himself at the moment. And
could be Simon Geschke himself. He's in second place there.
Yes, he's in second place at the moment, and but I'm surprised that he's, you know, going that much to the front. He's better to sit off a bit, 4th or 5th position for the moment, and we can see Rogers really just digging in and giving it everything for the moment.
Neri Sottile going to take this one up. Exec Finetto to be hanging there or thereabouts. We've seen Simone Ponzi down on the ground earlier on today. He would be the man with a fast finish, but has he made it? That's the question. Aren't too many luminous jerseys there. There is a light yellow jersey still out in front, though. Just 16 seconds here for Mick Rogers. So exciting towards the end of this stage 11 of the Giro. 2 kilometres now for the Australian in what is fast becoming an Aussie Giro. 14 seconds, still the gap comes down. Now BMC start to ride on the front. Everybody wants to stay safe here. The road's narrow. We come into Savona itself. Suddenly there's a stage victory up for grabs. That Lampre jersey still looking menacing. 4th wheel at the moment. Mick Rogers here, 32nd. You can see no bother to get Evans overall. 11 seconds though, and it's looking very, very tight. Onto the cobbles we go. Well, you call Geschke, Sean. He's looking very, very well positioned. He is the sort of medium stage hunter, the classics hunter that Giant Shimano would love to throw away. He's fairly quick to the line as well. Geschke is there, 1:73, following the wheel of Jonathan Castroviejo, another time trialist. Almost 15 seconds now for Mick Rogers. Over a kilometre to go. Onto the marina he goes, tries to get a bit more of an advantage. It is going to be so tight, but it's looking better now via the pedal stroke for this man.
Yes, it looks like that he's pulled out a couple of seconds of advantage here, and we can see he's coming to the kilometre to go. A little bit of, you know, movement on the front, then a slow down. They're looking at each other. It should be sufficient for Rogers.
Back out to 21 seconds. Mick Rogers inside the final kilometre. Probably knows it's looking good for him now. He will be told on the radio to pedal for his dear life inside this last kilometre. Hands go over the bars. Tinkoff Saxo looking for something out of this race, looking for a stage win. Mick Rogers ready to announce himself back in the processional peloton at this Giro d'Italia, which he attended right at the last minute. Behind we have Cadel Evans, the GC contender. There's still a matter of bonus seconds behind him, he mopped up. But at the moment, this is looking very, very good for Mick Rogers. This is going to be his stage. Inside the last 450 metres for him. There's a chase on behind. Julian Arredondo's there in the blue jersey on the left-hand side. A good turn again from Georg Priley, but they're not going to catch Mick Rogers now. Mick Rogers inside 200 metres to go, looks behind. He could afford to plan his celebration here. It is a welcome return to the peloton for Mick Rogers. Tinkoff Saxo had 2 men in the break today. None of those went on to take the win, but their tactical plan to send Rogers over the top and attack on the descent worked. He is back, he is here. This is an Aussie Giro, and Mick Rogers is the latest to take the win. A huge day from him, and the veteran over the line with the win. Now the sprint for those bonus seconds being played out. It's going to be the Bardiani team that comes across, but it will be Simon Geschke who wins that sprint. So they were riding for him. Mick Rogers, though, the winner, and a big one for him today, Sean.
A real big performance, taking it up at a long ways out, and considering the run-in, not an easy one. A lot of little uphills, kick up in the final kilometres, but impressive. A real strong ride, and for his comeback race, it's a huge performance.
Huge performance from Mick Rogers, an unbelievable win for him. 43 kilometres per hour is the average race speed. He goes off to talk to Dan Lloyd. We'll try and bring you that in just a moment's time. All the GC boys coming in say, thankfully, no crashes towards the end for once. Good that everybody stayed up.
Yes, well, with a small group, I think it takes the danger out a bit more space. And we could see as well quite a wide run-in.
Well, Bartalin and Geschke, the two guys you mentioned, if it came down to a quick sprint, you also mentioned Wilco Kelderman there as well, Sean. They made up the second, third and fourth places. Brambilla in fifth, Moser, Heista, Rabottini, Duarte and Guglielmo making up the top 10. The winner on the day, though, by 10 seconds, Mick Rogers. The moment that Mick Rogers re-announced himself on the world stage. Back after his provisional suspension and winning a stage on the Giro d'Italia for the first time in his career. His first individual win. This was a sprint behind Geschke on the left in the white, just beating Enrico Bartalin. So we now know why Zardini was riding so hard on the front, and Preidler as well.
Yes, we could see that the teammates were riding on the front. There was a reason. Unfortunately, the middle of that the main peloton, we could not see the riders in there. We got a good view of the front, the first 5 or 6 riders. Then back to the rear end of the peloton. But the way the riders were performing from different teams, as Zardini, we see Preidler pushing on the front, and that's the reason. And Rogers, just that bit too strong for him to close it down. The interesting one is, I think, Rogers with the comeback of it. If he had been in here early, I think maybe he might be thinking about the time to more and not went in the attack.
You even had time to save it in the end. What does this mean for you personally after that winter?
It was certainly a beautiful moment. The team tried really hard today. We had Nicholas Roach and also Ivan up front, and it worked really well. Unfortunately, the break came back, but a great opportunity for me, and I was able to take advantage of it.
Was it pre-planned, your attack on the descent, or just a spur-of-the-moment thing?
Certainly a spur-of-the-moment. I saw on top of the climb that all the contenders of the general classification were kind of all looking at each other, and there was certainly a possibility opened up, and I took it.
Well done, Michael. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Multiple-time individual world time trial champion. First time he's won a stage on a Grand Tour. Congratulations, Mick Rogers. This is the overall standing after stage 11. Cadel Evans 57 seconds ahead of Rigoberto Urán. Rafael Majka in third place. Pozzovivo fourth. Morabito fifth. We're heading into tomorrow, though, and that top 10 could look quite different after the time trial. Next 24 hours for the Giro. Going to be a very big 24 hours.